A powerful explosion struck the Svecha, candle, paraffin plant in the city of Salavat early Friday morning, causing part of the factory building to collapse and leaving at least 3 people hospitalized in grave condition. According to emergency services, the blast occurred around 8 a.m. Moscow time, when an air gas mixture ignited within the facility. The explosion caused significant structural damage, affecting an area of approximately 30 square meters. Early reports suggest the incident was triggered by furnace decompression due to a violation of the plant's production processes. The resulting fire prompted the immediate deployment of emergency responders, with a team of 43 firefighters and 17 fire engines currently battling the blaze and securing the site. Local authorities confirmed that 3 individuals have been hospitalized with severe injuries. One of the victims is in intensive care in Salavat, while a second has been transferred to a burn center in Sterlitamak with serious thermal injuries. The third patient also remains in intensive care in Sterlitamak, according to Bashkir Health Minister Irat Rahmatulin. Emergency crews are also engaged in a search operation for one person believed to be trapped beneath the rubble. In response to the incident, regional prosecutors have launched an investigation into the factory's adherence to industrial safety regulations. Authorities will also be reviewing the findings of an initial inquiry to determine the exact cause of the explosion and assess potential lapses in safety protocols. The Svecha factory specializes in paraffin-based products and is considered a key industrial site in the region. As the emergency response continues, officials are urging caution and monitoring the situation for further developments. The plant is located over 1,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, and at this time, there is no confirmed evidence linking the explosion to a Ukrainian attack. Several communication towers in Russia are disabled, and then multiple Russian military vehicles were destroyed throughout the Ukraine-adjacent Valuisky district in Belgorod region. Ukrainian special forces are active. Could be preparation for another counter-invasion of Russia. Guerrilla attacks on occupied territories and inside Russia play a crucial strategic role in Ukraine's broader war effort. These operations, sabotage, arson, targeted assassinations, undermine Russian control, disrupt logistics, and force the Kremlin to divert resources away from the front lines. In occupied areas, they weaken morale among collaborators and occupiers alike. Inside Russia, they spread fear, challenge the illusion of security, and expose the vulnerability of key infrastructure. It's warfare in the shadows, low cost, high impact, and deeply destabilizing. Russian troops face relentless Ukrainian drone warfare. In the gray silence before an assault, Russian infantrymen now instinctively flinch at the faintest buzz in the sky. It's not paranoia, it's survival. A once-ignored sound has become a symbol of invisible death, the distant hum of Ukrainian drones. On Russian channels, military bloggers and field commentators are increasingly vocal about the growing nightmare of Ukrainian FPV drone tactics. In particular, the blogger known as Unfair Advantage paints a grim picture, not from triumph, but from the uneasy position of someone watching a superior tactic slowly grind down their own side. Ukrainian forces have mastered the art of psychological pressure through persistent and calculated UAV strikes. Over time, the impact has been devastating not just physically, but mentally. Russian soldiers have grown so accustomed to the incoming threat that they now dive for cover at the sound of a drone, whether or not it's armed or even visible. The mere presence of the buzzing noise halts movement, freezes communication, and disrupts cohesion on the ground. These are not isolated incidents. According to Russian sources, Ukrainian units deploy a tactic dubbed the carousel, a continuous rotation of strike drones, FPVs, or loitering munitions launched in waves. Even with pauses between strikes, the pressure remains constant. There is no rhythm to anticipate, no pattern to exploit. It is a calculated chaos that keeps defenders trapped in their trenches, too scared to rise. Every Russian assault now risks being a race against an invisible clock. As Ukrainian drones strike in bursts, their infantry moves forward, synchronizing ground advances with air attacks. The moment the drones hit, Ukrainian foot soldiers sprint toward Russian positions. By the time the defenders recover and raise their heads, they are already flanked or overwhelmed. This combination of drone strikes and sudden infantry surges leaves Russian units disoriented. Traditional defensive tactics, wait out the bombardment, then regroup, no longer apply. There is no safe after when drones come in waves, each followed by a stealthy advance. The most disturbing aspect, as noted by Russian bloggers, is the chilling precision of Ukrainian surveillance. Reconnaissance drones hover or rotate shifts to ensure constant visual coverage of the battlefield. Strike drones, meanwhile, pre-stage in urban ruins atop gas stations, or even on the ground in standby mode, waiting like landmines that think. In one particularly unsettling tactic, kamikaze drones are hidden near Russian lines during initial mass attacks. When the larger assault ends and soldiers emerge, believing the danger has passed, these silent watchers spring to life and strike from close range. The result is a brutal lesson. There is no safety in survival. Even hiding has become dangerous. Russian operators describe situations where being too well concealed cuts off communication and exposes drones to signal shadow zones. Yet hovering above for visibility drains battery life and risks detection. The Ukrainian solution? Blend observation and lethality. One drone watches, another waits. A third kills. And all of them know exactly when to move. This synergy between surveillance and assault has created a battlefield where Russian troops are no longer reacting to attacks. They are preemptively suppressing themselves, terrified of triggering the next strike. What makes these tactics even more effective is the use of distraction. A sudden UAV assault doesn't just damage defenses, it steals their attention. Russian troops report being so preoccupied with shooting down incoming drones or finding cover that they stop monitoring their flanks entirely. That's when Ukrainian ground forces move, quietly, efficiently, and often unseen. Ukrainian commanders are also reportedly coordinating drone raids with artillery strikes in other sectors. As the enemy focuses on one front, another quietly collapses under pressure. It's a chess match where every Russian move is forced, every response anticipated. Russian forces are grappling with an uncomfortable truth. They are being outmaneuvered not just technologically, but psychologically. Ukrainian UAV tactics have reshaped the front line into a place of constant dread. Movement is punished, inaction is exploited, and every decision is made under the watchful eye of a buzzing specter in the sky. Unfair advantage doesn't mince words. The Russian military, he implies, is on the back foot, not due to lack of courage or numbers, but because it cannot yet counter a new kind of warfare, one where fear comes before the fire and death comes from above. President Trump arrived in the UAE, where he was given an unusual reception. I wonder what it means. Followers kindly told me that this is a yaula. It is considered a victory dance, and it used to be performed after a victory in a tribal war or after returning from a successful pearl diving. Neither Berlin, Paris, Brussels, and especially London want any peace in Ukraine at all, Lavrov said. Are they the ones who attacked Ukraine? Are they the ones who are killing Ukrainians? Are they the ones who are disrupting peace talks?
Neither Berlin, nor Paris, nor Brussels, and especially London, they really do not want any peace in Ukraine at all. They decide that, well, since the United States is sort of withdrawing from active support, this will, by the way, be projected onto NATO. So Europe needs to think about itself. Macron has already come up with some kind of European army, ready to put his nuclear warheads into a common pool. And in this situation, they still, according to our information, have direct conversations among themselves. It is not possible to stop the mobilization of Europe against Russia. And in this sense, Ukraine is an invaluable tool.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. We repeat that Russia is the long-term threat. We repeat that China is rapidly building up its armed forces, which is of course a big concern. They will have 1,000 nuclear warheads by the end of the decade. And we repeat that terrorism is also one of the areas NATO is focusing on, because terrorism is a core task for NATO to fight terrorism.
Every press conference I am giving, we repeat that Russia is the long-term threat. We repeat that China is rapidly building up its armed forces, which is, of course, a big concern. They will have 1,000 nuclear warheads by the end of the decade. And we repeat that terrorism is also one of the areas NATO is focusing on, because terrorism is a core task for NATO to fight terrorism. And we are here in Turkey. This country has been hit by terrorism, but also other countries in NATO have had their share of terrorist attacks over the last decades. And so all these threats are there. I will keep on repeating them based on the language we have agreed. And I expect for the NATO summit in The Hague to really focus very much.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.